Hello, Dog Nation, and welcome back to our highly anticipated Next Generation series. I'm Kaylee Mansell with DawgNation recruiting insider Jeff Sentell, and we are here to bring you everything you need to know about the 2024 signing class for UGA. And it goes without question, you UGA fans are crazy. You already know everything about these guys, so we're here to tell you the things that maybe you don't know or we think you should know. But the biggest thing with this 2024 class is the hype that's gone into it. Stars from all across the country. You know the names. Jeff, we're going to start off with a big one here. Ellis Robinson IV, nationally known. So much hype around him. And here's the thing about Ellis. You could almost say that there's too much hype. Number one cornerback in the country, number two player overall, according to 247. Is this a guy that can live up to the pressure and the standard that's been set in place for him?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, Kaylee, because I think you guys know all of the things. I mean, you could challenge fans at the water cooler or the tailgate. They're like, okay, he's a 5-star. Okay, he's number one. Nobody really disputed that. Oh, what he did against Jeremiah, J.J. Smith, all that stuff. I'm going to tell you a story. Like, he was labeled, I'm talking like 5-6 years old. They called him the Savior. And if you folks follow him on social media, I think it's the Savior or whatever, or Ellis Robinson, the Savior, that's his Twitter handle or whatever. He was called the Savior like 5th, 6th grade because he was the one 5-6 years old, excuse me. He was the one that saved football games. Like, you know, they were losing and he'd pull it out. They'd give him the ball. He was a kid. I love this story from his parents. They told me that they were taking his older brother to football practice one day, and little Ellis was like 5 years old. And the older brother's working out, and the coach goes, "Hey, who's that?" He's like, "Is that your brother?" He's like, "That kid's going to play in the NFL. I just know it." Hold on, 5 years old? People are saying, "You're going to play in the NFL?" And, you know, like they're going, "Oh my gosh, Jeff, how in the world can somebody do that?" Well, they looked at the way, his length, he had really long arms, he had really long legs. They looked at him and the way he carried himself. Like his mom tells me a great story that he never crawled. He just went straight from not crawling to walking. And he was all arms and all legs, and such a great football player. I mean, I think the one stat, if anybody knows it about Ellis, is 24/7 has this thing where they have this matrix, they have this algorithm where they go Justin Fields, Trenton Thompson, Nolan Smith, and they give everybody that's ever signed to Georgia or came to Georgia a pure, all-time rating. Ellis is number 2 ever, above everybody except for Justin Fields. I think that's phenomenal.
I think the interesting thing to me about Ellis is in this new world of NIL, Ellis is a player that seems that he would be almost NIL gold. He could probably go anywhere that he wanted, but you can tell he's not really caught up in that. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's crazy because everybody knows NIL, everybody knows South Florida, and everybody knows there's a lot of inducements now to a decision. That's kind of just the way it is. And there were millions offered to Ellis, but that's really not what he wanted. He wanted development. It was something simple as like going to Georgia, and he knew the guys on the team. He'd go to other schools and he wouldn't really know them. They wouldn't go out together. He didn't look at the team and he'd go, "You know what, hang out with them. Like, I get them, they get me." And that was kind of the way he just quickly fell in love with Georgia. He was a guy that committed on the national signing day for the 2023 class because he was ready. And before that, Kaylee, he was ready before that, like months before he'd silently committed. Goes back to his story. He's getting knee surgery his junior year, and Georgia's on the phone with him, and speakerphone, Bluetooth, whatever, and the family's in the family truckster going to knee surgery. And Georgia and its coaches and its recruiting staffers were literally praying with Ellis about, let's hope this surgery goes well. Let's hope this helps his future. And Mama Robinson, Nicole, she basically, that phone call's over, she looks at her family, and she's like, "I don't know what anybody else needs to see. I'm done. He's going to go to Georgia. I like Georgia." And so everybody offered him a lot of money, a ton of money in NIL, but he just wanted the feeling he had at Georgia, the connection he had with the guys already on the team, and he knew that Georgia would develop him for the league.
So you've had the chance to talk to Ellis multiple times. You've also had the chance to speak to his family, too. I know a lot of people out there obviously see the big things that come with Ellis. Number one cornerback in the country, highest rated cornerback signee under Kirby Smart. But what is the side of him that you want DawgNation to really recognize through this series?
Well, he's still a kid. And, he's kind of growing into it. Like, his mama says, she's like, she was always fixing his hair. And she's like, if I wanted to fix hair all the time, I should have had girls. And like Ellis was at one point, you'd see him and he had like a contrast of personalities. He was always being a hoodie. Like I remember the Georgia's 2022 National Championship celebration that January. Ellis was there and he was basically a hoodie. He looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi maybe or something like that. And you could barely see just his hair, but then he's kind of a mix where he's kind of just growing into himself. Like he knows he's got spotlight on him, but he's very reserved, but at the same time he knows that the cameras are going to find him the better he plays and the greater he plays. And you know, there's a story his dad told me where he was like, he told him when he was like 5 or 6 years old, really early, and he said, I want you to think about a rainbow. And listen to me. What would you say if I told you at the end of this rainbow there's $1 million? And all you have to do is do exactly what I tell you to do, and you will find that $1 million at the end of the rainbow. And his dad was a former D2 player, and Ellis was like, sure, I'll go for it. And that's kind of the way his career path and his walk has been. He was basically like, I'm going to do whatever my dad says, and he's going to get me to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Now, that's a metaphor, of course. I mean, I'm not going to get, English class here, but the pot of the gold would be NFL, future, and all that. And he's always just been a super motivated kid, and it kind of shows like in all of his play. The film's great. Film's amazing. I mean, Georgia has signed so many corners. Eric Stokes Jr. was developmental. Tyson Campbell was a guy. Keely Ringo was a guy. Kamari Lassiter was a guy. A.J. Harris was a guy. He's now at Penn State. But like Georgia's brought in a ton of really good corners. But I don't think they've ever brought in anybody quite like Ellis Robinson IV.
Ellis is definitely someone you can tell everyone is excited to see in the red and black, but as the time gets closer and closer, what do you think it's going to be about Ellis that's going to surprise Georgia fans the most?
Well, here's a little bit of something that if you didn't know it, everybody's always talked about corner, but one of the things everybody kind of threw into the package, and I'm not talking about NIL here, but it's like they see his ball skills, they see the way he runs. About the only thing from a scouting perspective you can say he doesn't have is he doesn't have 4.3 speed, but he's got 4.4 speed on the laser. He's been at IMG for the past, I call it IMGA because a lot of guys go to IMGA and end up going to Georgia. But he's got everything you want, the length, 6'1", 190, but Georgia coaches and other coaches have kind of hinted that, man, if we need help at wide receiver, maybe, but we really want to utilize you in the punt return game and the kick return game. And if you see Ellis's senior film, there's a lot of plays where he's making plays as a punt returner. Look for him to get on the field fast. Maybe not start, but maybe the nickel, maybe some packages when Georgia's got 3 or 4 corners on the field. I really feel like you're going to see Ellis Robinson, number 12, likely still going to be number 12 on the field early in Athens.
And with that will include our very first episode back of the DawgNation Next Generation series. Usually we end on a bang. I feel like we started with a bang for today's first episode, and moving forward, so many big names. I mean, this class has so many people that I'm really excited to have everybody have the opportunity to get to know them a little bit more, maybe some of their stats off the field. And I couldn't think of a better person to start out with than Ellis Robinson. Now make sure to check out the pages of DawgNation.com next week for episode 2. You aren't going to want to miss it.